GM Stakin fam, my name is Del Ray and welcome to this episode of the Stakin podcast. Liquid staking is a hot topic in the Cosmos ecosystem. Today we're sitting down with Persistence to talk about all things liquid staking and how they are preparing for that. Stay tuned. GM everybody, this is the Stakin podcast. Today we're going to discuss all things about liquid staking, and for that we have here the Persistence team. We have Mikhail and we have Majid. Thank you guys for joining. How you feeling?
Hey, Delray, hey everyone. Feeling great. Very excited for what's coming up. Yeah. Majid, do you wanna introduce yourself maybe?
Just a GM.
Hi everyone. I'm Majid. I'm the product manager for SDK Atom. And I'm here today to talk about our launch and the product. So nice to see you all.
Yeah, guys, let's jump right into it. Right, liquid staking, it's a very hot topic in the Cosmos ecosystem, and especially after the Cosmoverse with all the things that were announced, all the plans and stuff, people feel pumped, excited about that. So I wanted to bring you guys in so we can learn a little more about pStake, liquid staking, your thoughts on it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be valuable for the listeners. If you wanna start with a brief introduction on what Persistence is and what pStake is, and then we go from there. You can start, Mikhail, and then you, Majid, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can take this. So, if you guys have been around for the last 2-3 years, Persistence has been involved in the Cosmos ecosystem for a while now, and we have been working on building the liquid staking ecosystem. So the goal for Persistence is to build the liquid staking hub for the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, when I say liquid staking hub for the Cosmos ecosystem, those are a lot of words, but if you kind of trickle down and think about what that really means, what it means is that we want to build an ecosystem on the Persistence chain that is solely focused on liquid staking. We've seen a lot of generalized layer ones in the crypto ecosystem, and a lot of teams are trying to do some really interesting things. But for us, the goal is to be very, very specific to what we want to build. We don't want to build a layer one that is competing with 10 other layer ones, but the goal is to build something that solves a very big problem. In Cosmos specifically, it is all about staking, and now that the whole Cosmos is moving towards liquid staking, our focus, for the last 2 years has been liquid staking, and we see that there is there's a very big requirement for something like this, where a chain is solely focused on liquid staking, whether it starts with liquid staked asset issuances to having use cases that cater to that liquid staked representative token. So within Persistence, we have pStake. pStake, as you might know, is one of the first liquid staking protocols for Atom. We launched, last year in 2021, early 2021. We've been building since late 2020 for Cosmos. We built a solution that was not very conventional, but we are now working on a solution where SDK Atom, which is the liquid state representative for Atom, will be directly issued on the Persistence Core 1 chain, and you could just IBC it to any other chain that you want to, or use the SDK Atom or other Cosmos-based assets that we issue in the future to use them within the Persistence ecosystem, dApps like a money market or a DEX, which are all focused on liquid staked assets. That's kind of a short intro about what Persistence is and what pStake is doing.
Cool. And I can talk maybe a little bit about SDK Atom as well. So like Mikhail mentioned, we were really the first player in Cosmos, right, for SDK Atom, for liquid staking Atom specifically. But the original implementation, this was prior to the launch of things like ICA and ICQ on Cosmos. And so we launched on Ethereum, right, with the ERC20 based solution. Now, that solution, while we were able to get it out very early, right, it had several issues. Specifically, that the issuance of the SDK Atom on Ethereum is quite expensive. It's expensive to claim rewards manually, and Ethereum transactions in general are slow, and that degrades the user experience, right? Not to mention fees on Ethereum are quite high. And so with Cosmos, developing ICA, ICQ, all of these new features that are IBC enabled, right? It's now possible for us to really come back to our home, which is the Cosmos ecosystem, and that's our plan with the new SDK Atom, right? So we're building that based on ICA, ICQ, so that we can build a completely non-custodial new version of SDK Atom that is completely 100% better for users. The UX is better. There are much cheaper transaction fees, and in general, we can start taking advantage of new DeFi cases, DeFi use cases on Cosmos that weren't, possible before.
Yeah, that's great. And I remember me starting in the Cosmos ecosystem, persistent. That wasn't long ago. I started in the Cosmos like a little over a year ago. It's crazy how time flies. And by that time, persistent was already in the Cosmos ecosystem, as you said. And you had this uh, minting, you get your Atom and you mint SDK Atom, and you can then have that on the Ethereum side. I do remember the fees. Uh, if I recall correctly, the first and only time I used it, don't sue me, uh, I had to pay like $25 fee. So it's great, guys, that you are doing this migration and, like you say, Majid, coming back home to the Cosmos. Uh, that would be very beneficial in a few aspects. I will leave you guys to speak more about that. So about this new chapter on Cosmos, uh, there are other liquid staking solutions that are emerging. I'm pretty sure that you're aware of that, right? And personally, I do think competition brings innovation to the market, right? You guys compete just to be better for your users. That's what matters at the end. And yeah, it's amazing. I want you to dive a little deeper. First, whoever of you can explain, like I'm five, what is liquid staking, and then after that, uh, you can go ahead and expand on what pStake is doing different. What is your approach to liquid staking, and why you guys think you differentiate from others in the ecosystem? So feel free to expand here. Majid, if you want to get started, the stage is yours.
Sure, sounds good. So let me start with the liquid staking explanation, right? So, as we know, Cosmos, it's a proof of stake network, right? So what that means is, rather than past networks that were, let's say, proof of work, like Bitcoin, for example, is proof of work, the consensus on the chain is handled through proof of stake. So what that means is that there are validators that run nodes to basically validate the transactions that happen on chain, right? Now, with Bitcoin, you have to have a lot of hardware. You have to have very big, server farms potentially to mine new Bitcoin. But with proof of stake networks, coin holders, right? So Atom holders can choose to stake their assets in order to help secure the network, and in exchange, they receive rewards. So, for example, with Atom, stakers currently receive somewhere around like 18% APY, right? So if you stake 100 Atom, you'll get about 18 Atom back over the course of a year, right? Roughly speaking. Now, that is with traditional staking. So the downside of traditional staking is that you have to lock up those assets, right? So it's similar to, like, let's say in a traditional finance world, you have a certificate deposit account where you have to lock up your assets with the bank for some time period, and then you receive back a higher interest rate because the bank can go out and lend that money, right? Now, in the staking world, what you're really doing is, the protocol is not like lending out your money, but it's being used to secure the network, right? And so in order to bring your assets back, like to unstake, you're required to wait for the unbonding period, right? Which is what it's called. In the Atom case, this would be about 3 weeks, right? 21 days. So users kind of have to make a choice, right? Do they stake and lock up their assets and get back kind of a reliable, APY, like a reward, or do they use their Atom for DeFi and other purposes, right? Where if it's staked, they can't use it to buy things. That's where liquid staking comes in. So liquid staking, we believe that basically users should not have to make that choice. We believe that users should be able to both benefit from the rewards of staking while being able to leverage the fact that they have an asset. That asset has value, right? Even though it's staked, that Atom still has value. And they should be able to use that in DeFi, use it to buy things, use it to gain extra rewards if they're willing to take the risk through, let's say, borrowing and lending protocols, for example. And the way liquid staking works is that when you liquid stake, you get back a derivative token. So in our case, when you liquid stake Atom through our platform, we give you a derivative token called STK Atom. And that derivative token we give you based on the current exchange rate between Atom and the derivative token, the STK Atom in this case, right? And when you get staking rewards, those staking rewards are basically taken to increase the value of the derivative token. So you don't have to do anything. It auto compounds. You get the best yields without having to do anything, essentially. Hopefully that makes sense.
Oh yes, that's on the liquid staking side. So basically, you gotta decide, right? Do I get this secure income and secure the network by staking, or I don't stake in the network and have my liquid money doing some other DeFi stuff? So yeah, it's a trade-off. So you said that with liquid staking, I can have the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, you
I
have your
stake
cake
my asset, secure the network, but I also get a representative asset which I can use to do other things in the ecosystem, right?
Exactly.
That's great. Mikhail, I don't know if you want to add something extra to that, or you just want to go ahead and how you are approaching liquid staking.
No, I think Majid did a phenomenal job in explaining that. I've been trying to explain this to people a lot, so I've come to the state where I am unable to explain it from a basic principle. I just jumped right into the tech, but Majid did a great job, so I don't think we need to go into that anymore. So yeah, let's move forward.
Got it. So, guys, I guess this is prime time, right? I guess this is the time people been waiting. Why pStake, right? Why shouldn't I go ahead and go to other liquid staking platform? Don't they do the same? Are they all the same? Where is the difference between those, if you can say, and how you differentiate out of those? I mean, why me as a staker, right? I'm not talking about a stake in the validator. I'm not talking about whatever person. I'm just talking about a regular staker in the ecosystem that doesn't do many research, just digging into stuff, right? Why this person will go ahead and use pStake instead of other platforms if they do the same, right?
Yeah, that's a good question, and a lot of people do ask us the same thing. So, without going into too much details of the product, I'll let Majid take care of that. But if you think about this from first principles, let's say we have Stride, which has a really solid tech. We have Quicksilver. The community loves Quicksilver. They've been around for such a long time in the ecosystem. It's the same for us. We've been in this ecosystem for about 3.5 years now within Cosmos. Been early supporters, and now Lido coming in. A lot of options for users to choose from. From our perspective, it also comes down to, like, for a user, what would you care the most about? One is obviously how easy is it to use your assets within the ecosystem. So as far as I'm concerned, at some point in the future, most of the liquid staking protocols would converge to a point where, from a user's perspective, everything looks the same. It's minting of assets. It's not like you have a lot many models to play around with. You have you have the asset that you deposit, you receive a derivative. Now, what you do with this asset is what matters the most as a user. So, from our perspective, the goal is, so for example, Stride has taken an approach where they would want to be very minimalistic on the chain and just issue the derivative asset, and that derivative can be used on other chains within the ecosystem, within the broader Cosmos. But for us, we have a bunch of other projects that have been building on the persistence chain. So on the persistence chain, we have pStake, which is built in as a module, and we have a Cosmosm layer on which other applications will be built. It's similar to what Lido Neutron, the relationship exists, right? So for us, we have a DEX project that is focused on liquid staked assets. Now, when I say focused on liquid staked assets, what does it mean? I'm not saying other DEXs are not efficient, but what that essentially means is that uh, if you're a user, you would want, now, let's say you're a user, you were just taking your assets in the past. You were well versed with the space to be able to actually think that, okay, I should stake my assets so that I don't get diluted in the longer run. Now, that's a good thinking. You are thinking about capital and being more efficient with your capital. That is why you're staking. Now, the next obvious step is to be more capital efficient. Then you start liquid staking, be able to earn staking rewards at the same time, maybe have liquidity, maintain liquidity of your assets, or do something exciting with it to generate additional yield. Now, when you're looking at generating additional yields, what would you really look at? You would look at protocols that would utilize my assets in the best possible way, where I could actually maximize my capital efficiency. So that's where the DEX product that some teams with there's a team building that on the persistence chain. That's where that comes in. A money market protocol which is solely focused on liquid staked assets and maximizing efficiency for that liquid staked asset. You could do exciting things like self-repaying loans and a bunch of other things, leverage liquid staking, quite a lot of things actually. So that is so from a first principle perspective, the fact that we are building an ecosystem around liquid staking, where users don't actually have to IBC their assets, go to some other chain, deposit. Although that is what we will also be doing. It's not like it's not so straightforward that we want everyone to just use the products on the persistence chain. That's not what the interchain ecosystem is all about, right? We are all here to collaborate and work efficiently, but at the same time giving users the optionality to do that on the same chain if that is what they want. So that is definitely one thing. If you go a little deeper, uh, since the goal is to build an ecosystem around liquid staked assets, we want developers to come and so again, if you've heard Tushar talk about this, he said this on multiple occasions that we don't want 1,000 developers on the chain building a lot of applications. We don't want to be like a general chain where everybody is building everything. We want to be very focused and very strategic about what we build or what is built on the chain. We don't want any scams, no such thing, right? It should be all like properly vetted, well audited. So from our perspective, we want to work with a few teams, but those teams should be able to integrate very easily with the liquid staking module on the persistence chain, which is built by pStake. So all those things are what we thought of from a first principle perspective, and then built out the solution. So it is mostly around user experience and what users could do with these assets. Majid, if you want to go into more details around the product itself, feel free.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think to expand on what Mikhail said, I think he put it very well. Like in general, I think the value of a liquid staking asset is really in what you can do with it, right? So it's beyond just, obviously there's a staking component, but you have to ask yourself, like as a user, okay, if I can stake and I can get rewards for staking, why wouldn't I just do that, right? Because it's already established. And so for any liquid staking protocol, there has to be a use case for that derivative token. And I think we understand this very, very well. So we have projects in the pipeline, like Mikhail mentioned, like a DEX, borrowing, lending, right, that are coming down the pipe to give SDK Atom additional value, right? And that is really the key. And that's where we believe we have a strong differentiator, because we have a lot of experience in Cosmos. We've been here for a very long time, and we're here for the long term, right? We're going to be pushing products for a long time from here on out. This is just the beginning. The liquid staking aspect is really just a prerequisite to much bigger things, right? And then in terms of the product, we are also planning on making, changes to the UX so that it is the most seamless liquid staking product in the market, right? So on launch, I'm pretty proud to say that we worked really hard on this. We're going to have instant redemptions. So not only can you, let's say, go on a DEX like Osmosis and swap your SDK Atom for Atom to exit that staked position immediately, but we'll actually just offer it natively as well through our own UI. And so if
Awesome.
you're a user, you want to swap your SDK Atom for Atom immediately, you go to the unstake page, you'll have two options, right? One option is the standard unstake. You wait for 21 days, 24 days, and you get back the Atom according to the prevailing exchange rate at the time. And we'll guarantee that you'll get that Atom back. You'll just have to wait for the unstaking. Or if you don't want to wait, we built this feature where you can get your Atom immediately.
That's awesome. Awesome. And that's a great point, because what I believe sometimes have like a slowdown this crypto adoption is maybe the friction that there is between the applications that you use. So the less friction, the better, guys. And the more options user have to exit liquidity, let's say, the better as well. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. And I must say, for the few times I used the pStake web page, it looked really pretty, to be honest. So the designer did a great job on that. I didn't get lost. I know exactly where the buttons were. So yeah, good stuff. Very excited to see how that's gonna look like in the future. Now, I want to go back to what you were saying about the value of the liquid state asset is related to the things that you can do with that liquid asset, right? So at the moment, I've seen that people mostly see liquid staking as a way to skip the unbonding period, right? You don't have to wait X amount of days to have your asset liquid, and you can go ahead and also provide liquidity with that representative asset. Do you envision a future where people will be able to do even more things with those liquid assets? For example, go onto a web page and buy something with a liquid stake asset, or maybe there is an NFT minting and you can buy it with your liquid stake asset. Do you see, guys, that happen in the future?
100%, man. I think, and we've been saying this for a very long time now, that the goal for us is to make SDK assets the base asset of the PS economy. What that actually means is, so if you really think about it, and maybe this is something that we've never talked about publicly, but this is kind of what we've been thinking about for a very long time now. We'll put this in motion maybe in the future, and we'll obviously spend more time thinking about this. But what does that really mean, like making SDK assets or liquid staked assets the base asset of the PS economy? What it means is that right now everything that you do is actually happening with your assets, your PS assets directly. But everything that you're doing right now can actually happen in a more capital efficient manner. And you can do all of that and much more with liquid staked assets. So when I say and much more, what does that mean? Like a lot of things you cannot do with just assets. If you stake assets, you can't do leverage liquid staking, but you can do that with liquid staking, liquid staked assets. And there's a bunch of other things that we can think of that can be done with liquid staked assets, but cannot be done with just the PS assets itself. But what it truly means is, for example, today trading happens between Atom and STK Atom, maybe, or let's say the Stride ST Atom and an Atom pool. This trading will continue happening forever, obviously. But imagine a world where the trading, everything that you trade actually happens in just STK assets. So instead of you trading Atom for XPRT or XPRT for Atom, you're actually trading STK Atom and STK Atom for STK XPRT or STK XPRT for STK Atom. Now that is what true capital efficiency means. But obviously, there's a very long path ahead of us to get there. But yeah, that's kind of what we mean when we say this. So it's not to say that we replace assets with STK assets. It's to say that there is a way for people to move from STK assets to assets instantly, like you're working on the instant redemption functionality that Majid talked about, which will go live with the product going live. But maybe working more on the instant redemption to make it much more liquid and allow users to do it even in size. So, and that is just not possible when you think about it with if you just target retail users. The goal should, for any liquid staking protocol, my view is that it is a liquid staking protocol is more of a P2P player, protocol to protocol, or B2B player instead of a B2C player, because we don't want users to go through the friction of like minting a derivative, using it, like supplying liquidity on a DEX, or then using that NP token to borrow stuff against it. If you want to supply liquidity, superfluid staking is a great example. I really love it for the fact that you can actually do two things in one click. You don't actually, or maybe two clicks, but it's much easier and it's a much better way of doing things, right? Because you don't have to like take a liquid staked asset, mint it, like take your asset, mint a liquid staked asset, then deposit it into the pool.
Yeah.
You actually deposit the asset, and staking happens in the background. And that's kind of the direction that we should be moving in. So if you're working with, let's say you have a DEX product, and instead of the user having to mint STK Atom and take it to the DEX, what could happen is the user just deposits Atom on the DEX, and the DEX is taking back the Atom and minting STK Atom, and trading is happening in STK Atom in the background. Obviously, 10 other problems that I can think of right now, and so can everyone listening to this conversation. But that's the direction that we should be moving in my opinion. So, yeah.
Thanks, Mikhail. You very briefly talk about COS1s on persistence. I remember it was implemented very recently, to be honest. Have you seen any increase in the developer community? Have you seen people starting tweaking around it? I guess you can start by saying why you decided to implement COS1s and what you're trying to get out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So the goal with Cosm was on persistence was to allow developers to easily build stuff. It's not the most efficient way to upgrade your chain every time you wanna launch a new product. And Majid has much more technical knowledge than I do, so he can maybe talk a little bit more about this. But from our perspective, it's much easier to bring on developers in the ecosystem who can build something really good without having the overhead of like it's like not adding a lot of risks directly to the chain through modules as well. So and we haven't been working with a lot of developers. We just work very selectively with certain folks that we've been speaking to for a very long time, that we know have very high integrity and will continue shipping. That's the kind of folks we're working with right now, and we'll continue to find such folks and work with them. So yeah, we are expecting to see two dApps outside of pStake. So pStake will be launching. We haven't publicly communicated the dates yet, but somewhere in November, early November, and we have a DEX product that is expected to go live by the end of November, early December, and a borrowing lending product that is again expected to go live in December. So if you have to like launch so many projects back to back, if you would not have Cosm, you would have to do like chain upgrades every single time that you're doing this, and it's a 7-day voting period, a lot of overhead and validators to work with so many upgrades. So it's just much more it's an optimal way to do things, I think.
Awesome. Majid, if you're gonna add to that.
Yeah, I think all I really want to add to what Mikhail mentioned is a little bit on the technical side, right? Like, so CosmWasm, I think, is very, very big in general for enabling smart contract based development on Cosmos, right? So obviously you have like, aside from CosmWasm, you have like Agoric and EVM, but natively to Cosmos, CosmWasm like really enables a way of development that wasn't available before, really. So even for us, actually, we considered like, can we do a liquid staking protocol implementation using CosmWasm? And that might be a path we take in the future, right? But since ICA, depending on the chain, right? Like ICA with CosmWasm is not a thing yet, right? So for example, on persistence chain, we had to make a choice between a module-based approach or a smart contract-based approach. And in the current state of CosmWasm, like because ICA is not enabled with CosmWasm, we had to go for a module-based approach, right? But in the future, this might not be an issue. We might be able to, implement using smart contracts, and that also applies to third-party developers, right? So any developer that's building on persistence with Cosmos and support, it's much easier for them to create apps that leverage smart contracts, and that's the big takeaway for me.
Got it. That sounds great. It seems that you guys are really focused in getting a few things right, and that should make the majority of your results. And I agree with that approach. Let me tell you, sometimes people want to do all the things at the same time at all times, and they just have just many things that just don't work in how they should work if they just focus in that one thing and make it better. So after you make that one thing better, you can go ahead and start focusing on another thing and then adding and adding, right? I believe that approach is better than focus on many fronts at the same time. That's what I wanted to say. So guys, I want to have a little look. Okay. I want to have a quick look at your at the community side. Uh, I access the persistence Discord every day. Let me tell you, you might have seen when I send the GMs in the GM channel, right? I see the persistence lobby. I see the pStake lobby as well. The validator channel, really cool. I noticed the other day you started with the pStake for Cosmos newsletter. It's the number one. If you can expand a little on that, what's the reasoning behind it and how the community is going to benefit from that?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about kind of what we're planning on doing there. So for the newsletter and other kind of communications that we're sending out about not just SDK Atom, but for pStake in general, what we really want to do is we want to inform the community about like what we're planning first of all, right, and get their feedback on, hey, like you're users of our platform, you're users of other platforms, right? Like come to us and tell us what's your feedback, like what can we do better, right? That's one aspect of it. And then to kind of build excitement about what we're doing, because we're super excited about what we're building, right? Like I'm excited about what I'm working on every day, and I want to share that with the rest of the community. And to some degree, maybe we haven't done enough of that in the past, but we really want to change that going forward, right? We want to talk more about the tech. So, we're going to put out a blog. I think it's actually already gone out about how we use ICA and ICQ, right? What interchain accounts mean for pStake, what they mean for SDK Atom, how we're leveraging those technologies, and why they're critical to the future of liquid staking on Cosmos, right? Those types of that type of content is what we want to push in the newsletter, and we want to make it very regular so that we have an open and kind of consistent channel with the community. To talk about product developments, how we work. If people are curious on certain topics, give us feedback, right? Tell us like, hey, I want to learn about what you're doing in the DEX space, right? Because we talked about the DEX earlier. All that kind of stuff. That's basically what we're planning on doing with the newsletter. But yeah, Mikhail, you have anything else to add there?
No, I think you put it perfectly. We are super excited about what we are building, and we want everyone else to know exactly what we are building and how we are doing it. And I'm sure people will be excited about it as well.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Communication is key, and also people like to get involved. When you ask people for feedback and you actually implement the feedbacks that people give you, people feel special, right? That's something that the humans have. That belonging feeling. It's the word. I don't know, but well, that's great, guys. Thank you for letting me know. We're almost closing this out. Let me know if you have any closing thoughts about liquid staking, what you do, or if there was anything I should ask you and I didn't ask you. Right now is the time to say that.
Majid, anything from your side?
Didn't ask me what my favorite ice cream flavor is.
Well, what's your favorite ice cream flavor is?
I'm actually kind of boring. I think I like the fruit flavors, like strawberry, mango. It has to be a little bit creamy though. Not the sorbet kind of thing. But
Well, I guess you can hang out with my grandmother then. She loves the strawberry ice cream.
yeah, I'd love to meet your grandma. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So from my end, I think we're excited about what's coming down the pipe, right? Not just SDK Atom. SDK Atom is the first step in what's going to be a long journey for us. And has been a long journey for us already, right? Because we've, like we
Yeah.
said earlier, we were first in the liquid staking space in Cosmos with our ERC20 SDK Atom implementation, and we're just improving it leaps and bounds from here. So yeah, just stay tuned. Watch out for our launch coming up, next month, and yeah, give us feedback on what we can do better and what you love about persistence in our products.
Totally. Now, Mikhail, I don't know if you want to drop any alpha by the end of this recording. If not, where can
I can
people
actually do that.
find?
Oh, I can actually do that. Let's
be my guest.
That. So, if you're an Atom staker, currently you're earning 18% yield or something of that sort. From our perspective, when we launch, you will have a lot more staking rewards to earn than just that 18%. And I'm talking about rewards directly tied to your staking rewards. It is not contingent on you using your assets on osmosis, on any other DEX, any other boy. Your staking rewards will be higher than what most liquid staking protocols do, and that should be pretty exciting. And this is something that we are doing because we've seen a lot of people talk about us in the past and give us feedback, and we want to thank them for that feedback, and we want to be a little generous about this time and try to bootstrap the protocol as soon as possible. The market isn't that great, but Cosmos ecosystem is always exciting, no matter what day it is. People are always excited to talk about the tech, talk about everything around the product. So yeah, that's the alpha. If you wanna, and from my perspective, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the Cosmos ecosystem in general. Right now, I've been super excited. I've spent so much time going through the white paper, Atom 2.0 white paper, on multiple occasions now, and I really like the fact that we are thinking about a change in the monetary policy. What is being proposed may not be exactly what people want, and I myself have some thoughts around that, which I would probably like to put a lot more structure on first, and then talk about it. But the fact that we're thinking about things like that, and the fact that liquid staking is at the center of this, it just means that our thesis has been validated. We thought we built a liquid staking solution. We started building it in 2020 when nobody else was actually thinking about it. I know very few people were talking about it. Chorus One, Quicksilver folks, they've been around. They've been talking about this, leading efforts on the working group for liquid staking, and that's kind of what is great about Cosmos. And we are super excited about liquid staking, and big fans of fixed income. The fact that staking rewards keep coming in, just stacking your atoms, that's exactly what we love about staking and liquid staking and this industry. And we'll continue to ship. We have some exciting. Majid has been working super hard to think about what users will provide us feedback, and just preempting that for our V2, and we'll figure something out, and we'll make sure that this is a really solid product. And at the same time, we will not be, we'll make sure that we remember our early users. So the people who've been using our product since 2021, we will make sure that they can easily migrate from the current implementation to the new one without having to wait for a bunch of time, miss out on the staking rewards. So we have a migration utility that we've built out for anybody holding SDK Atom on the ERC20 side. Although we will take that live after the product is live and stable, so that we give ourselves enough time and make sure that the product is rock solid before we make any before we want users to transition to this product. We will have security audits done by the time we launch. We are excuse me. We are expecting a security audit report by Halvan in a couple of days now. So we fixed all the bugs. So super excited about the launch now. Getting very close.
Yeah, I met the Harbon guys during Cosmoverse. It was really cool. It's crazy the job they do, and they have actually added many networks in the Cosmos ecosystem. I believe this question is gonna go to Majid. I just remember now. I believe this is important. Can you briefly go over what assets can I liquid stake on persistence, and what's the process on adding more assets to your protocol?
Yeah, it's a great question. So currently we support Ethereum, BNB, Atom, and XPRT. So and correct me if I'm wrong, Mikhail, if I missed anything there. So uh, the current implementation for Atom and XPRT, obviously until we launch on Cosmos next month for Atom, they are both ERC20 tokens. Ethereum is on Ethereum, obviously, and BNB is on the Binance chain. In terms of adding new tokens, you mean from the technical standpoint, right? How are we adding new tokens?
Yeah, how you add in, or if that the community proposed them. Let's say, for example, I want to have Chihuahua on persistence. Forgive me for that example, but how's the process behind that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in general, like what we're doing is we're trying to prioritize the tokens based on what we think will maximize value to users, right? So in particular for Cosmos, like the reason we're launching Atom first is because it is the Cosmos hub, right? And we believe that has the most utility to users, and that is the bread and butter, right, of what we need to launch on Cosmos. And in terms of BNB, we thought it was a great opportunity to launch BNB. And anytime that we see a high priority like space where we think, okay, this is going to be great for users, we're going to hone in on that and focus on that 100%. Now in the pipe, we've had research into AVAX, Sol. We've also been looking into Sui and Aptos, for example, right? And on Cosmos, we're obviously looking at XPRT because that's our own chain.
That makes sense.
And we're thinking about Osmosis, Evmos, right? Like we've basically got everything in consideration, and it's really about prioritization for us. Like you mentioned earlier, rather than us go and kind of like do everything all at once and do 100 things kind of with not very good effort, we'd rather focus on the things that add the most value for users, knock that out of the park, and then say, okay, it's time for us to expand and do it in a sustainable manner, right? Because if we expand unsustainably, that could be really bad, not just for us, but for users too, right? Like we want to make sure that products last for a long time, that people have trust in them. And trust and security are the number one things, right? We can't compromise on that. And in order to create a secure product, sometimes that takes time, right?
Totally.
In terms of if you have if you want Chihuahua on pStake, then yeah, give us that feedback, right? Like come to our forum, come to our Discord, come to Twitter, like tell us what you're super passionate about, why you think that persistence should be building this, and we'll listen. We can't guarantee that we will make everyone happy, right? Because I think that's impossible. But if it aligns with our roadmap, it aligns with our vision, I don't see why we can't take that feedback to heart and see what we can do about it, right?
I agree. Awesome, great explanation, man. And I'm very excited, bro. I mean, people say we're in a bear market in the crypto winter, but I don't know. In Cosmos, doesn't seem like it. I see lots of development every day, not only about you, right, but in other networks in the ecosystem. So yeah, Burst is for builders, and it seems like you guys all building, and I like that. I like that a lot, to be honest. Also, the Discord is very active. Like I said, I go there every day. I try to see all the messages, but sadly, I have other networks to see as well. So I cannot see all the messages. But those in the lobby, the validator channel, uh, I see those. So yeah, that's great, guys. Most of the recordings I've done, I'm actually adding this question at the end. I got many different responses, and I like the question. So don't be nervous. It's really simple. Uh, from your perspective, guys, what do you need from the persistence community? Do you want people to get more involved with you, give more feedbacks? Tell me. Oh,
Matthew,
Michael,
do
if
you
you
want
want
to
to
go
get
first?
started, sorry.
I'll let Matthew go first.
All
Sure.
right, no worries.
So from my standpoint, yeah, like I would love feedback. Do I need feedback? Is it gonna if fuel me? Yeah, actually, it kind of will, right? Because it would be really nice to know how we're doing, right? Whether that's you think we're not doing well and you want to see a whole bunch of changes, that's valuable feedback to us, right? That's really core to my heart as a product manager, right? Like that's really what I'm looking for. I want to make users happy, right? I want to say like, okay, take your Atom, get the highest yields, right, of the entire ecosystem, all the use cases, the most seamless user experience. That's really what I'm looking for. And if, to some degree, we're not meeting that really high bar, tell us, right? Tell us immediately. Come to our Twitter, flame us if you want to, right? Tell us, give us that critical feedback because that's what we're looking for, and that's how
Yes.
what helps us grow and get better, right? And that's why we've been in the ecosystem for so long, right? Because people do tell us like, hey, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing this. That's valuable for us, right? Because in building the product every day, we see all of the issues, right? And sometimes we need to be able to see what we should do next and then kind of be able to look at the bigger picture every now and then, right?
Yeah,
And
totally.
have an outside perspective on that as well.
Yeah, if you let me add to that, to the outside perspective, it happens to me. I mean, I'm not the super developer. I don't develop at all, right? What I do is content creation, right, and community and stuff. However, sometimes I see that I assume that the people reading my articles know what I'm talking about, right? So, and that's because I know what I'm talking about, right? I'm guessing that you, as a builder, as a product manager, maybe the same happens to you. Maybe you see something that makes sense to you, but maybe it doesn't make sense for the community, right? And that's where the feedback comes in, and it's very valuable, in my opinion. It's crazy, man. I mean, we are all part of this decentralized economy, and we all should have a voice, and we all should cooperate. That's my opinion, right? I believe this is gonna be my last question. I believe we have covered many interesting topics about pStake. Personally, I have enjoyed this conversation a lot, guys. Again, thank you for taking the time and chatting with me today. I know you're very busy building. But this is the question. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are DAOs, DAO, right? DAOs. Juno is doing the sub DAOs where a specific groups of people will do a specific task. So I know at the moment, right now, persistence is kind of like leading the way and kind of guiding the community and how the product is going in a sense. But do you plan to have these groups of empowered individuals that can tackle a specific things of your protocol? For example, Yumi is doing that recently. It's the community DAO, and those guys, what will do? They will just review the content that is going out there. Uh, but there are many DAOs, so I don't know your thoughts on that. If you're gonna quickly expand on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that we've been discussing internally, and you've met up with it. He's very passionate about DAOs, and he's been talking about it for a very long time now. Uh, and we are trying to make sure that now we have people that are willing to create those DAOs. It shouldn't. So right now, unless and until there's some stuff out there, people might not be too excited. They don't know what's exactly happening, what we are building. But the moment we start rolling out these products, people will start getting excited and they will understand what the value, what value they can add to the chain, to us. So people will start forming those DAOs. We are mostly looking at DAOs on the marketing side, so similar to how you have the Osmosis marketing DAOs and all those things. Something similar. I'm not the best person to comment on the state of that, where we are in terms of getting that built out. But people on the ecosystem side for persistence, who Yaron, Abhitesh, they've been working super hard to put that in motion for some time now. So that is something that I would expect going, in the future. We will see a few DAOs on the persistent side. Not so much on the technical front, but we do have grants and bounties that we will be giving out. There are already a few grants that we are giving out. So if you want to check that out on our website on persistence, you can check that out. And this is kind of how those DAOs will get built, because you start by taking a grant, build something, and then you're also maintaining it, upgrading it, adding more stuff to it. So uh, we're taking these baby steps to get to that point, so that not to like disrupt everything that we've done. So internally, like we are in a very solid position today from a team perspective. The team is super busy building heads down, and this is a great time to build. So while we focus mostly on the building front, we start putting these things in motion on the marketing side, learn from it, and then see how we can implement the same thing on the tech side, on the engineering front. So yeah, as of this moment, I wouldn't like say there'll be some DAOs on the persistence chain right away, but we should expect something pretty soon.
It's gonna be up to the community, I guess, right?
Yeah, you want to form a DAO, make a proposal on the chain. Happy to fund it if it makes sense, right? The community will vote. So yeah.
All right. Let's go. Anything you want to add to that, Majid?
No, I think Mikkel covered it pretty well. Yeah. I was going to mention the grants and bounties, but Mikkel also mentioned that. So there you go.
Yeah, he went ahead and dropped that. But I didn't ask. I mean, I asked you, Majid, but I didn't ask you, Mikhail. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh man, I just like chocolate a lot. I don't gain a lot of weight, so I can eat chocolate and still look like very skinny. So not a big issue for me. But I like chocolate. I'm kind of like a kid like that.
All right, you and I, we can hang out because I also like ice cream, chocolate ice cream. Love
awesome,
it, love
man. I'd love to hang out with you. Would definitely be more fun.
Now, guys, this conversation has been great. I've been tweaking this tool around to make sure I have the best image, but I believe this should be the best one to close this. Again, guys, thank you for taking the time and chatting with me today. I've learned lots of liquid staking. I just wish the best for you guys, and I just hope that the community find value in what you're doing and keep doing it with the passion that you are. If you want to close it out with anything besides goodbyes, that's the time for you. But from my end, thank you guys, and talk to you next time. All right.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on. Really enjoyed my time, and I'm looking forward to that invite from your grandma, by the way.
I will let her know. Totally. Thank you. That's all for today. Please join us on our next episode, and remember to stay tuned, following us on Twitter and joining our Discord and Telegram. Until then, cosmonauts.